I'm going to talk about a recent report that we wrote, which is titled Why This Is India's Decade. When the global team of Morgan Stanley's research department examined the world at large, it identified 4 mega trends that will grip the world over the next couple of decades, maybe even longer. The first one is demographics. The world is aging rapidly. In China's population will decline this year. Europe is also aging. Japan is already old. The second is deglobalization. Most of us have experienced intense globalization, free trade, exchange of services and products. Some of these things are likely to come to a grinding halt over the next few years. The third is decarbonization, which is the world is committed to invest for a better climate, and this is going to be very disruptive. And the fourth mega trend that we are looking at is in digitalization. Every business is investing for a digital economy, and in many parts this is going to disrupt a lot of existing businesses. And when we looked around the world, what we found is that most countries are going to lose on 1, 2, 3 or all 4 trends. China, for example, is aging. It is a loser on deglobalization. It's a likely loser on decarbonization. The only large country in the world that we found as a likely beneficiary of all 4 trends happens to be India. So India seems to be on the throes of benefiting, and it is also gaining very rapidly in terms of benefiting from these trends. There are 5 implications of all of this. The first one is, stunningly, India will account for 1/5 of global growth in the next 10 years, 20%. This is a very big number. India is only 4%, or actually less than 4% of global GDP right now, and its share will be 5 times that number in the next 10 years. So there's no multinational company that can have a growth strategy without thinking India. Multinational boards are right now discussing India very heavily. And the second big conclusion is India's GDP, we think, will probably reach the near $8 trillion mark in 10 years. The third thing for a lot of equity market investors here is that India will probably become a $10 trillion market cap. And by the way, India has already been amongst the best performing stock market in the world over 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years in US dollar terms. And we think it will probably continue to be amongst the best over the next 10 years. The fourth is credit to GDP, which is currently only 57% in the private sector. China is at 225, the US is at 180, most of Europe is at 200. We think goes to about 100% in the next 10 years. So a lot of credit growth. And the fifth and the final and most important conclusion is the income pyramid in India, which is like this, which is a lot of poor people sitting here, very few rich people, is becoming like this as you go forward into the next 10 years. So the bottom layer is shrinking. A lot of them move to the middle, and in fact the top layer is where a lot of multinational companies are getting very excited. Today India has 5 million households that we classify as rich by global standards. That number we estimate goes to 25 million. That's a staggering growth. The number of middle class households in India, which is about 60 million today, goes to 150 million. So very major increase. So it looks like a very bright future for India.